She bet $500 with her friends that I'd beg when she left me for the gym owner. So I cashed out our joint account and never looked back. The gym went bankrupt, and I heard she's working to pay off that bet. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The smell of garlic and rosemary chicken filled our apartment, a scent that usually felt like home. Tonight, it just felt like a performance. Mia had been distant for weeks, a vague, foggy presence I kept blaming on her work stress or my own imagination. I was planning a special dinner for Saturday, a whole thing with her favorite wine and that cheesecake from the place across town, hoping to bridge whatever this invisible gap was. My phone was dead, plugged into the wall in the bedroom, so I picked up her iPad from the coffee table to look up a tip for searing the chicken skin perfectly. As the browser loaded, a notification slid down from the top of the screen. Valkyries, 23 new messages. I smiled. The Valkyries. That's what she and her two best friends, Qley and Sarah, called their group chat. I thought it was cute, a sign of their fierce friendship. I went to swipe it away, my thumb hovering, when a preview of the most recent message caught my eye. Sarah, I can't wait to see his face. $50 on Rage. My thumb froze. His face? My face. A cold, leaden feeling started to form in my gut. This was wrong. I knew it was wrong. But the chill that was spreading through my veins was overpowering any sense of honor. I tapped the notification. The chat exploded onto the screen. The last message was from Sarah, sent 10 minutes ago. Sarah, is he there yet? Are you doing it tonight? My heart hammered against my ribs. I scrolled up, the movement feeling slow and syrupy. Mia, he's cooking. Smells pathetic. Like he's trying to win me back with a damn chicken. Qley, El Mayo. The final meal. You're gonna drop the bomb after dinner? Mia, no. I can't wait. I'm doing it when he's done. I need to be free. Mark is picking me up in an hour. Mark. Mark from the gym. Iron Haven. The guy with the 2 white teeth and the leased BMW. The guy whose presence always made Mia's laugh a little too loud. The lead in my gut turned to acid. I kept scrolling, my breath caught in my throat, my fingers leaving sweaty smudges on the glass. Qley, okay, but the bed is still on. What's his reaction? I've got $50 on him full-on sobbing. He's a soft little crybaby. The words hit me like a physical blow. Soft little crybaby. I'd driven Qley home from a bar at 2 a.m. when she was too drunk to get an Uber. I'd helped her move her couch. Sarah, nah, he's gonna get angry. All that quietness is just repressed rage. $50 on him yelling and breaking a plate. Mia, you're both wrong. He's too spineless for either. He'll just shut down. It'll be boring. Then came the message that stopped the world. The one that made the kitchen timer's beeping sound like it was coming from another galaxy. The one that dismantled 3 years of shared life, of plans, of what I thought was love, in a single sentence. Qley, okay, but what if he actually begs? Like, gets on his knees and pleads? That's the jackpot. That's the one I want to see. Mia, El Mayo. $500 to whoever guesses right. Sarah, you're the bookie. This is going to be hilarious. Sarah, BET. $500 on the table. Tears, rage, shutdown, or begging. Place your bets, ladies. Mia, $50 on shutdown. Easy money. Qley, $50 on tears. He's a crier. Sarah, $50 on rage. Let's get this party started. I sat there, the iPad heavy in my lap. The beeping from the kitchen was incessant. The smell of burning chicken started to mix with the rosemary. Hilarious. They were betting on the destruction of my heart. They had a bookie. My pain, my humiliation, was a spectator sport with a $500 pot. Mia had placed her wager. Shut down. Easy money. Every memory flashed before my eyes, tainted. The time I was upset after my grandfather died. Had she told them about that? Had they laughed about my tears? The time I'd gotten frustrated and quiet after a bad day at work? Was that shut down? Every vulnerable moment I'd ever shared with her was now currency in their cruel game. I stood up, my body moving on autopilot. I walked to the kitchen and turned off the stove. The chicken was blackened on one side. I stared at it, this pathetic, burnt offering to a relationship that had never existed. Not the way I thought it had. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I didn't shut down. I became calm. A terrifying, crystalline calm. The bet was on. But she had no idea she'd already lost. She had bet on a reaction, any reaction. She wasn't prepared for none at all. I placed the iPad back on the coffee table, exactly as I found it. Then I went to the bedroom, unplugged my phone, and opened my banking app. I looked at the joint savings account we had for a future down payment. Our shared dream. It wasn't ours anymore. The game had changed, and I was about to make a move she would never see coming. The calm that settled over me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. It wasn't the absence of emotion, but the presence of a singular, focused purpose. The hurt, the betrayal, the raw humiliation, they were all still there, but they were fuel. I was the engine, and my only job was to move forward, methodically and without a sound. I didn't look at the iPad again. I didn't confront her. What would be the point? It would just be giving her the reaction she'd bet on. Instead, I opened the Notes app on my phone and started a list. Essential documents. Laptop and hard drives. Grandfather's watch. Photo albums. Bank, joint account. The next 2 days were a study in quiet precision. While Mia was at work, I was a ghost in our own home. I took a single suitcase and 2 boxes to a storage unit I rented under a false name, paying in cash. I didn't take anything that was ours, only what was mine. I left the framed photos, the throw pillows she loved, the set of knives we'd bought together. I even left the book I was halfway through reading on the nightstand. The only joint asset was the savings account. We'd both been depositing into it for 2 years for a house we'd never buy. The morning after the bet, I went to the bank alone. The teller knew me. Making a big withdrawal, Alex? She asked cheerfully. Transferring my half to a new account, I said, my voice even. Closing this one out. She clicked a few keys, her smile faltering slightly. Is everything okay? Everything is fine, I said, and my tone left no room for further questions. The sound of the transfer completing, the feeling of the new debit card in my wallet. It felt more final than any breakup speech ever could. I was cutting the financial umbilical cord. She could keep the apartment, the furniture, the life. I was taking my freedom. The day of the execution, I felt nothing. I sat on the couch, the same couch where I'd read the messages, and waited. I didn't have to wait long. I heard her key in the lock, the familiar sound that used to make my heart lift. Now it was just a signal. She walked in, dressed up. She'd clearly come from the gym, from him. She took a deep, dramatic breath, her shoulders squared for a fight. She was ready for tears, for rage. She was an actress waiting for her co-star to hit his mark. Look, Alex, she began, her voice laced with a practiced sadness. We need to talk. This isn't working. I looked up from my book, marking my page with a finger. I said nothing. I've outgrown this, she continued, gaining momentum now that her script was rolling. I need more passion, more excitement. Mark gives me that. You're just safe. It's over. She paused, her eyes wide and expectant. She was waiting for the storm. She had $50 riding on shutdown, but she was braced for the other possibilities. I closed my book and placed it on the coffee table. I looked at her, my expression as neutral as a stranger's. Okay, I said. Her face twitched. What? What do you mean, okay? I mean, I understand. It's over. That's fine. The confusion on her face was almost comical. This wasn't in the script. Don't you have anything else to say? Aren't you upset? I stood up. I'd already packed a single duffel bag with my remaining essentials. It was by the door. I've said all I need to. I'll be out by the end of the week. I walked toward the door, picking up the duffel bag. The movement was so calm, so deliberate. It seemed to short-circuit her brain. Wait, she said, panic finally cutting through her performative grief. The apartment? Our stuff? The joint account. I had my hand on the doorknob. I didn't turn around. I gave her the last 3 words she would ever hear from me for a very long time. It's handled. I closed the door behind me. The click of the latch was the only sound of my exit. No slammed door, no screaming fit. Just a quiet, definitive click. I walked to my car, got in, and drove away. I didn't look back at the apartment window. I didn't check my phone. I just drove, the silence in the car a perfect mirror for the silence I had left in my wake. She had bet on a shutdown. In a way, she'd won her $50. But she had no idea the cost of that victory. The first week was the hardest, but not for the reasons I expected. It wasn't the grief that was difficult, it was the silence. The absence of the constant pings from the Valkyrie's chat on her phone, the lack of her dramatic sighs, the hollow space in the bed. I filled it with routine. I woke up at the same time. I went to a different gym. I cooked simple meals in my new, smaller apartment. I was a ghost building a new body, piece by quiet piece. I blocked Mia, Qley, and Sarah on everything. Phone, social media, even my professional LinkedIn. I became a digital void to them. The only thread left was a single, decent mutual friend, Dave. He'd never been part of their scene. A few days after I left, he called. "Hey man, heard what happened. You okay?" "I'm fine, Dave." "Really?" "Mia's telling a story," he said carefully. "She's saying you stole from the joint account and had a mental breakdown, just ghosted her." "Let her talk," I said, and I meant it. I focused on work. With the mental energy I'd once spent managing Mia's moods and appeasing her friends, I excelled. I landed a new client, then a promotion. The money from my half of the savings was a nest egg that gave me breathing room, a safety net she had thrown away for a bet. Weeks turned into months. My new life began to feel more real than the old one ever had. The peace was palpable. Then, the karma began to trickle in through Dave. It was never delivered with glee, just as factual updates, and I received them with the same detached interest. "Hey, just so you know," Dave said during one of our occasional calls, "Iron Haven Gym is in trouble. Rumor is Mark leased all that fancy equipment and hasn't made a payment in months. The bank is seizing it." I grunted, doing a set of bicep curls with a dumbbell in my free hand. "Also," Dave continued, "that luxury condo he was always bragging about? He was renting it. The owner is evicting him. Mia moved in with him, like, a month ago. This is going to be a mess for her." I switched the dumbbell to my other hand. "Not my mess." Another month passed. Dave's updates became more frequent, the situation more dire. "The gym is officially closed. Padlocks on the door. Mark's BMW got repossessed right out of the parking lot. People saw it." Then, the final piece. "Bad news," Dave said, his voice grim. "Mark emptied Mia's personal savings account and took off. No one knows where he is. She's left with a bunch of unpaid bills from the gym he put in her name. She's not doing well. She's back living with her parents." I listened, waiting for a flicker of vindication, for the sweet taste of schadenfreude. It never came. Instead, I felt a profound, almost unsettling sense of nothing. Her suffering was as irrelevant to me now as my suffering had been to her when she was placing her bet. The universe had balanced the scales, not with drama, but with the cold, hard consequences of her own choices. She had traded stability for flash, authenticity for a performance, and love for a $500 wager. She had lost it all, and I was just getting started. The first attempt came 2 days after Dave's final update. A text from an unknown number, but the tone was unmistakably hers. "Unknown number. We need to talk about the rest of your stuff. And you took money that was for our rent. You can't just do that." I stared at the words. Our rent. The audacity was breathtaking. She was still trying to play the part of the wronged partner, the one who'd been left in the lurch. She was testing the waters, seeing if I'd take the bait and engage in an argument. I deleted the message and blocked the number. The rest of my stuff was a handful of old t-shirts and some books I'd willingly left behind. A cheap price for my freedom. A week later, my phone buzzed with a voicemail. I almost deleted it without listening, but curiosity, that cold, clinical thing, got the better of me. I pressed play. "Hey, it's Qley." Her voice was sharp, accusatory, as if she were scolding a child. "Look, what you did to Mia was really low. She's struggling. The least you can do is man up and help her out of this situation Mark left her in. She trusted you, and you abandoned her. Call me." I almost laughed. Man up. The same friend who'd bet on me being a soft little crybaby was now demanding I man up to clean up the mess left by the man she'd encouraged Mia to choose. The hypocrisy was so thick you could taste it. I deleted the voicemail and blocked Qley's number too. They were a package deal of toxicity. The next text, from another new number, shed the pretense entirely. The mask of civility cracked, revealing the fury beneath. "Unknown number. I can't believe you're ignoring me. You're really that pathetic? You ruined my credit with that account crap. I hope you're happy, you selfish asshole." There it was. The true colors. No more talk of our rent or her stuff. It was about her credit, her problems. I was the selfish asshole for not setting myself on fire to keep her warm after she'd poured gasoline on me. I felt a flicker of something then. Not anger, but validation. This was the real Mia, the one from the Valkyrie's chat. I deleted the message, blocked the number. The silence that followed was golden. For 3 whole weeks, I breathed it in. I focused on my work, on my new routine, on the quiet satisfaction of building a life that was entirely my own. The peace was my fortress. Then my phone rang. Another unknown number. I was about to dismiss it, but something, the same detached, almost anthropological curiosity, made me answer. I put the phone to my ear, but said nothing. I just listened. For a moment, there was only shaky breathing. Then, her voice. It was a fragile, broken thing, a far cry from the sneering texter or the dramatic breakup artist. Alex, I know you're there. Please, please, I need help. I remained silent, a stone. Mark left, she continued, her voice cracking. He emptied my savings account before he vanished. The gym is gone. I owe people money. A lot of money. Sarah won't even talk to me anymore. She was waiting for a reaction, a gasp of sympathy, and I'm sorry to hear that. She was performing her downfall, hoping for an audience of one. I gave her nothing but the sound of my steady breathing. Her voice hardened, the tears evaporating into pure, undiluted fury. Damn it, say something. You owe me. If you hadn't been such a spineless coward, none of this would have happened. And then, the final, glorious, unthinking confession. The truth she couldn't hold back. I lost $500 on you because you couldn't even have a normal reaction. There it was. The heart of the beast. Not I miss you. Not I made a mistake. It was about the bet. It was always about the bet. Her words hung in the digital space between us, a monument to her own profound emptiness. The $500. The price tag on our relationship. The cost of her karma. The silence stretched, and in that silence, I felt the last fragile thread tethering me to that old life snap. I was free. Truly, completely free. I finally spoke, my voice calm, flat, and devoid of any emotion she could use as fuel. It was the tone of a customer service agent closing a ticket. It sounds like you have a problem. A stunned silence. Then a sputtered, what? That's it. After everything we had. I could have listed the everything we had. The planned future, the trust, the loyalty. But she wouldn't understand. She would only hear it as an opening, a negotiation. So I went for the jugular, the only thing she truly cared about. The $500 you lost on our breakup, I said, each word deliberate and clean, like a surgeon's incision. Consider it a cheap lesson. I could hear her sharp intake of breath, a mixture of horror and rage. Don't call this number again. I ended the call. I didn't wait for a response. I didn't listen for tears or screams. I simply pressed the button, then navigated to my settings and blocked the number for the final time. It was over. I looked around my quiet apartment. The evening sun slanted through the blinds, painting warm stripes on the clean, minimalist floor. There were no dramatic speeches, no thrown plates, no betting pools. There was just peace. The peace I had built for myself, with my own 2 hands and my own sound judgment. She had been a gamble, a high-stakes bet I hadn't even known I was making. And I had lost for a time. But I had cashed out my chips, my half of the money, my dignity, my self-respect, and walked away from the table before the house of cards collapsed. Now, the table was gone, the cards were ash, and the dealer was broke. I had taken my half of the money, and in doing so, I had bought back my entire life. She was just a bad bet I'd made once, and finally, I was cashed out. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.